Morning YouTube. This morning I'm going to run you through the basics of maps, how to decide which map you want, and just some details about them. I always use OS maps. This is the Explorer version. It's got a 1/25,000 scale. They do another map which is called the Land Ranger, and that's a 1/50,000 scale. On the Explorer maps, 4 centimeters equates to 1 kilometer in real life, and on the Land Ranger maps, 2 centimeters equates to 1 kilometer in real life. So the Land Ranger maps are a lot more zoomed out. It's still good for long distance walk planning. For shorter walks, the OS Explorer maps have got a lot more detail for walking and hiking. This is the back of the map, and this will help you decide which map you actually need. So OS have broke it down into OL19, OL30 codes. So if you lived in Darlington and you wanted to find walks around your local area, you'd need to buy the 304 map. And each map has 2 sides, which can be seen here. This one's got a north and a south. Some of them have east and west sides, and that shows you the areas. Most of the OS maps now come with a scratch off panel. You can use that to upload that map onto your mobile phone or your device. There's a bit of information about the different types of mapping. So at the bottom of all maps, you'll have a key or a legend, and this is quite important to help you work out what things on the map actually mean. So that's all road and paths, railways and public rights of way. That's particularly important for what we do, walking and hiking. Other public accesses, so things like the Cleveland Way, Howardian Hills routes, they'll all be marked on your map using these symbols. Access land, it's important to know where you can and can't go. In the UK, anything on a map that's white, it's like all this area, that's all privately owned. But as it says there, access land is like a peach with a dark peach colour background. So there's the difference between the private land and one that is access land. Naturally, stay away from any danger areas. Then you've got managed areas and boundary lines, so to know what they are. You've got a bit of scale across the top, which helps you get an appreciation of distance. Got your archaeological and historical information that tells you where the castles are and battles of sites of battles even, sorry. Different types of vegetation, what they are, so that'll help. If you're going for a route through the winter and it's on the map as being marsh, reeds or saltings, chances are it's going to be really wet. Then some descriptions about heights and natural features, relief, so you can see what you're getting yourself into, especially in more mountainous areas. Got your northern points. All maps by OS are drawn with grid north being straight up. Information about how to read the National Grid Reference System. Selected tourist information, so where parking is, viewpoints, picnic areas and things like that. And then more icons, pictures, so you can see what it is. Let's say that area. We seem to see a lot of castles in the UK. Public conveniences are always handy. This part of the map is quite often overlooked. That's the map prefix. That's needed when you're using a GPS system. You can tell it a grid reference, but it needs to know what map that you're on. You can see over here, it's at the bottom left as well. And then part way up this map on the left, you can see where we've come from the SD prefix to the NY prefix for North Yorkshire. You can see on the legend that we go from 00 and it starts counting to 1, 2, 3, and below it'll go to 99, 98, etc. The reason these are important is if you're crossing over from one area to the next, your GPS won't know where you've gone. I'll put on screen now a panel of all the prefixes in the UK, so you can see which areas and which prefix codes are what you will need. This is called Aroma Card, and it's really useful for when you're working out grid references. Gives you scales as well, so you can overlay it on the map to try and work out a rough distance. But the part that's interesting for us is this part. It's the 1 to 25,000 scale, which matches up with the OS Explorer maps. You can overlay this as shown in the pictures in a minute, and that'll help you work out how to plot a six-figure grid reference. What I also do with the maps is all the grid line numbers I highlight. It just makes them stand out, and it makes things easier to look at. Sometimes these maps are quite built up. You look at the Cape Stephen area, it's quite busy. So what I'm going to attempt to do now is show you how to read a grid reference. We use a term called along the corridor and up the stairs. So what that means is you work from east to west first, and they're called your eastings. So at the top of the map you can see the eastings go 79, 80, 81, etc. And then northings work their way up the map. So you can see it starts 01, 02, 03 and so on. We're going to try with one hand to get a six-figure grid reference for the 9 standards rigs. So to start with, we need to follow this line up, because we're going to go along the corridor first, so as in 81, 82. That gives us the nearest line, grid line, to the square that 9 standard rigs viewpoint is in, and then we're going to come up the stairs. So it's going to be 02, 03, 04, 06, and 07's too far, so it's 06. So the first 4 digits, which will be a 4-figure grid reference, will be, remember, you need your map prefix, which we know now to be November Yankee for this section of map. So for your GPS purposes it'll be November Yankee 8206. So we'll write that down just to make life easier. So it'll be Sierra Echo 82.
Sorry, I couldn't find anything.
Sorry about that. Right, so that's our 4-figure grid reference for this grid on our map. But that's too big of an area to stop there. As we said earlier on, we're on the OS Explorer maps. So 4 centimetres is a kilometre, which is one of them squares there, 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre. We can now use our Aroma card. And what this will do, just change hands, so it'll help us break that square up into 10 equal parts. So we get the part that we want. Sorry, excuse the hands. And we're going to place it next to our 8-2 line. So it goes from 8-2, and that is roughly in line with 4. Sorry, I'm doing that the wrong way. We want to be how far across we are from that line. So put the corner on, and that's 4. And by chance, it's also 4 on the northern line as well. So it's 4 in and 4 up. We can now add that in onto our piece of paper. So it's 824064. If you don't have a Aroma card, that's not a problem. If you have a compass, most modern compasses nowadays, they'll also come with a scale on them. You can see on this one, it's got, this is an ex-military compass, so ignore this part for now because that's not very helpful. We can use the scale on that in place, and it's also got a magnifying glass, and then 3 other scales there for smaller maps. So that's got the 1 to 50,000, which would work on the Land Ranger maps as well, and a 1 to 63,360, which would be a very, very zoomed out map, which would be no good for what we do. So I'll put this on the map and show you using this as well. So we're back on the map. Where are we? There's the 9 standard rigs viewpoint. 662 is the triangulation pillar. The 360-degree viewpoint is because it's a full circle. If it was half, it'd be half as much. So we're going to follow our, we're going to go along the corridor. So along the corridor to 8-2, find our square, bring our compass up, put our point to the centre of where we want to go, and now we can read off 824. We're going to come up the stairs, a little bit, up to 06, across, and then we can put that corner back on. And that lines up. So 064. That's accurate enough for what we need. There are 8-figure grid references and 10-figure, and they just break it down even further. That's what your GPS will do. So to put that into a GPS, obviously you need a prefix so it knows what map you're working on. Did I do that wrong? I did. So the SE is wrong. It's actually November Yankee because we're on the northern part of the map. So apologies for that. If I was on the GPS, it would give me a 10-figure grid reference. It'd be really accurate. So it'd say 824 and maybe just 65, for example, and then 06499. Now for the accuracy levels that we can manage with, we just take them last. If we were going to put this into a GPS, we'd just change these to zeros. And it won't like us. But that's as close as we need to be. Right, I'm going to quickly show you how to use the compass to do a bearing. So say for example, we want to walk to the 9 standard rigs viewpoint. And we were going to start off, let's say, where this path is, road, sorry, the B6270, and that junction there. We're going to park our car up there. What we need to first do is using the red arrow, which points north, on our compass, and we want the map to be facing north, which is called orientating the map. So we want to keep going until the lines on the map are in line with the compass pointing north. So our map is roughly pointing north, and so is the needle. So that is like a bird's eye view now. If you were to look down from an aeroplane, what's below would look like the same as our map. So then what we want to do is we want to move the edge of the compass and use the side. So there's where we said we were going to park the car. There's 9 standard rigs viewpoint, and then we want to be looking at the bezel inside the compass. Now this isn't an exact science, this is all rough, and we want to make these lines line up with the grid lines on the map. So you can see where the red at the top and the black at the bottom, we want them lined up best we can. And then when we pull the compass away from the map, we want to put that red needle inside that big red arrow, which we've always said is put the red in the shed, keep that like that, keep it flat, and then that arrow just above that magnifying glass is your direction of travel arrow. And if you keep that all lined up like that and follow that arrow, you will walk that bearing all the way. And on this compass you can take a note, and that bearing is just past 06.5 degrees. So if you remember that, write it on your hand or write it on your map. So if this gets messed up in your pocket or something, you can just twist it back to that, put that needle back in there, red in the shed, follow that, and you'll be walking that bearing forever until you end up back where you started and you've gone around the world. And to do the way you can use your compass to do this is you can do it in smaller sections. So you'd start from here to here, and when you got to that right hand kink just after Lamb's Moss, you'd start again and do a mark a bearing from there to there. Wait till you get to another prominent point where you need to make a decision, and do it again and again and again, and you'll end up where you started. Also, what's good about these compasses is you can see the 2 little dots, they glow in the dark. The red end of the needle also glows in the dark. And that line above the direction arrow also glows in the dark. So when you're in the dark, if you put your red in the shed, you'll have a line between two dots, and there'll be another line, and you follow that. And that'll get you where you want to go. So hopefully that's a quick intro into the basics of maps. Little tips for marking off your numbers, makes life easier to see. You can see where I've been walking before when we've stayed up in the area and done some walking from one castle to the next. Showing you how to use the compass. Showing you how to plot a a 4-figure grid reference, and then turn that into a 6. If you remember to walk along the corridor and up the stairs so you don't get them the wrong way round, you can't go wrong. And with your compass, put your red in the shed, always north your map. Line your lines in the bezel, up with the grid lines. Follow your direction arrow. Hopefully that's helped. Any questions? Leave some comments. I'll do what I can to answer them back. Or if I've said anything wrong or I'm doing anything wrong, let me know. I'm always open to feedback. We're always learning. There's always new things that we can be on with. So, yep, like and subscribe. Leave any comments. I'll see you later.